Hi, this is Jonas from Hailer, and today I'm going to show you the more advanced side of the Hailer permissions. So we recently published an article on this topic, which you can find in our help portal. And I'm not going to go through the actual article in detail today, but instead I'm going to configure a workspace using these advanced features we recently published, especially with our enterprise customers in mind. So I'm going to start off from the workspace I configured in the previous video, where we have a simple CRM combined with a simple sales order tool. And yeah, let's imagine a situation where we have resellers that participate in the sales activities, but we don't want the resellers to see the sales orders of other resellers. Also, we don't want the resellers to communicate with each other in this workspace, and actually we don't even want them to find each other. And for all of this, there's features now in place that can be used to prevent these kind of things. So let's start off with going to the workspace settings and restricting the team visibility. So what this does is that only users that are in the same teams can see each other in the workspace. And then let's look at the actual teams in the workspace. So now there's only the default team in place, but let's create a couple of new ones and rename the existing one to something like reseller network administrators, like this. And then let's rename this reseller A and this one reseller B. Now, as part of the restricted team visibility, or let's say when the restricted team visibility is enabled, it is possible to set certain teams as public teams. And that's what I'm going to do with the administrator team. And this means that members of the reseller network administrators team can view all members of the workspace, and also all members of the workspace can see the members of this team, while as reseller A can only see team members of reseller A and not team members of reseller B. Alright, then in addition to this, I'm going to create a group and call that group resellers. And this contains all resellers. Now, a group is a new concept which allows grouping together teams, users, and even other groups. So now I can add reseller A and reseller B to the same group. And this means it's much easier to administrate these teams and the different workflow permissions. And I don't have to do it separately for each team. Even though reseller A and reseller B teams are in the same group, it still doesn't mean they're going to see each other. So being in the same group does not expose the members of different teams. And then, in addition to this, we have created a new feature called custom roles. This isn't completely styled yet, so this is a preview, but the idea with the custom roles is that we can create custom roles and get more granularity to the access control for a certain user group. So I'm going to call this role reseller. And now, as you can see, there are some new permissions that can be set here. So, for example, until now, every member of a workspace has been able to create feed posts in the workspace. What we can do now is disable that so that resellers can only load the feed posts. They can see existing comments and likes but not interact there themselves. Also, what we can do is restrict the possibility of starting private discussions with anyone in the workspace and only set it to be possible with users that are part of public teams, which means the administrators in this case. And in addition to this, we can create a new role we call administrator if we want to, which can manage the feed, which means now it is possible to have users that are not workspace admins but can still administrate the feed. They can create feed posts, they can remove feed posts, and so on. So now when we have configured the groups and teams and roles of this workspace, we will look at the workflow settings next, and especially the permissions. And first of all, what we need to do is disable the predefined owner team and then add the needed teams to this workflow. So I will add a group called resellers that I just created, and for that group I will give own team access. This is basically the same thing as adding reseller A with own team permission and reseller B with own team permission, but instead we can group all of the teams together into one and just have it here. And that means the next time we invite a reseller C, we simply create a new reseller team and add it to the resellers group, and the members of reseller C will have all the access they need instantly. And then the reseller network administrators need any access. I will remove my personal access just to, because it's not needed in this case. Okay, now we're done with that. Then let's look at the customers, and what we can do here is simply have any access to the customers. But if we don't want the resellers to communicate with each other or even see each other, we need to disable the discussions in this data set, because although team visibility is restricted, it doesn't mean that if two persons from different teams end up in the same discussions, they wouldn't see each other. So if we want to be strict about that, we need to disable the discussions. And also, what we can do in this case is disable editing for all resellers. So if we don't want the resellers to be updating the customer activities, we simply add the group resellers to the permissions in the phase specific permissions and set that as view only, while as we allow the reseller network administrator to still edit the activities in this phase. So now it's view only for resellers. And then here we do the exact same thing. So I'm gonna first of all just remove myself, and then actually we can leave this as it is, and then just in the phase settings we set the resellers as view only, and then the administrators have edit access. And then the same thing for the products. So I'm not gonna change anything here, just set the resellers as view only and the administrators have edit access. And keep in mind that view only means that activities can't be added either. So in this case, the resellers won't be adding any of these. But then when it comes to sales order rows, we need to change a bit more. So here again, we need to deactivate the predefined owner team. And then instead of giving everyone access, we just give the resellers own team access, and then the administrators any access. All right. So now let's invite a reseller and to see what it looks like. So we go to the workspace settings and users, and now let's create a new user. And let's say this is A, like this. And then let's create another one, which is B. All right. Then I will open another browser window and register. So I will call this person reseller A and create some Great, I'm in. So now obviously the reseller A can view my profile still because I'm in a public team. But let's create one more user. I will close this now. The B user. Reseller B. And what happens now is that the reseller B cannot see reseller A at all in this workspace. And also now, because both reseller A and reseller B have view-only access to the customer, contact person, and product dataset, they cannot add new activities to these. If they open any of these, the side nav will simply say you don't have permissions to edit activities in this phase, and this applies to all of these, like this. And this is especially handy in the products dataset, as you probably don't want people to add new products to your product dataset. And now, when adding a new sales order as a reseller B, I can still pick from the customer's dataset the customer I want, and I can still, after saving, add new sales order rows, select the product, and state the amount. Like this. And note that Hailer does not ask for the owner team of these activities. But still, if we look at the activities just created by the reseller, the owner team is reseller B of the sales order, and also for the sales order row. And at the same time, as I am the administrator of this workspace, and also regardless of being workspace administrator or owner, I have any access to this workflow. That means I can pick any of the teams that have access to this workflow as the owner team. So I can, for example, create a sales order owned by reseller A, and also add sales order rows visible to reseller A, and now if I log in as reseller A, the sales order is here waiting for me, as it's owned by the team I belong to, and I have own team access to this particular workflow. Also, if I add a new sales order and sales order rows, Hailer is not asking for owner teams, but if I go back to my view, the network administrator view, I can see that the recently added sales order by reseller A is owned by the reseller A team. So this was in short how the groups work together with the workflow permissions and the smart activity owner team selector. Now we also configured 2 custom roles earlier, and what I didn't do when inviting the resellers was setting the custom role to these resellers. So let's do that now. So obviously when inviting new users, it is possible to instantly select the correct custom role here. But as I didn't do it when I invited these users, we can change it later on. So now I'm going to set the reseller role for both of these resellers. So this means that a reseller can access the feed but not create new feed posts or interact in the feed in any way. So if I create a feed post for resellers, I can actually set the visibility of this feed post to show only for resellers, like this. And now, when looking at the reseller profile, there's a new feed post in here. It has the content I just posted, but I can't interact. However, if someone else, like me, with my administrator profile interact, it will be visible for the reseller, like this. Now also, it is possible for the network administrator to invite both reseller A and reseller B to the same discussion. So if the discussion is activated in the customer's dataset, the reseller A can join the discussion. And if I log in as reseller B, I can also access that same discussion now. And this means we're now two resellers in the same discussion. And this is completely possible, but because of the restriction in the custom role, if I as reseller B open the profile of reseller A, I can't send reseller A a private message, although I can see reseller A. So this is a way of keeping the discussions in activity discussions only, if we want to allow discussions and not have any private discussions between different reseller teams. All right, that was everything from me. Thank you for listening and have a nice day.